Hello, today we're doing mission 2A, which is going to be cross multiplying or finding cross products by solving proportions. So it says the average person blinks about 360 times in 30 minutes. How many times does the average person blink in 9 minutes? So we're missing this piece right here. How many times do they blink? So we have the first part. It says we need to solve or set up a proportion. A ratio equal to another ratio is the definition of a proportion. So our ratio is we have 360 times that we're going to blink per minute, per 30 minutes. So when we set up our other ratio, we need to make sure that the blinking is on top and the minutes are on the bottom. So this is what we know. We're setting it equal to what we don't know because we are finding an equal proportion. So we know that they are looking at the time span of 9 minutes, and minutes are in the denominator. We want to know how many times does the average person blink. So this is what we're trying to figure out on the top. These proportions or ratios are equal to each other. We just need to figure out, well, how many times do they blink? So we do what's called cross multiplying to figure out the answer. This cross, x multiplied by 30, is going to be equal to the other cross, 360 multiplied by 9. So I like to write these two on this side, 30 times x. Set it equal to the other side, which is 360 multiplied by 9. So we know 30 times x, we could just put those together, 30x, is equal to 360 multiplied by 9. If I were you, I would just plug that in your calculator. 360 times 9 gives me 3,240. So now we just need to solve this. First, we set up our proportion, then we cross multiplied. This times this equals this times this. And we're solving our equation. This is just a one-step equation. We want to figure out what x is. It's touching, it's multiplied. The opposite of multiply is divide. We're just going to divide by 30. 30 divided by 30 is just 1, so we have 1x. And 3,240 divided by 30, again, I'm just plugging it in my calculator, is 108. So this person would blink 108 times in 9 minutes. So here we have a couple more proportions already set up, a ratio equal to another ratio, a fraction equal to a fraction. We need to solve using cross multiplication. So we're going to cross multiply 75 multiplied by x on one side. I always write this one on this side and then this one on this side, and they are equal to each other. 20 multiplied by 60. So on this side we have 75 times x. 20 times 60, if you don't know that, well, 2 times 6 is 12, and you will have 2 zeros on the end. 1,200 or 1,200. So we just need to figure out what is x. So the opposite of multiplying is divide. So we're dividing by 75. 75 divided by 75 is just 1. And then we plug this in our calculator. 1,200 divided by 75. And we get 16. So 16 is what x represents. So this next one, I know some of you know to go from one fraction to the other. That's what we learned when we did equivalent fractions. 15 times 30, or if we go the other direction, 30 to 15, we would be dividing by 2. 25 divided by 2 would give us a decimal, 12.5. Now, that should be the correct number. We're just learning a new strategy because that strategy is not going to work every single time. Like on this one back here, we could not figure out 75 divided by what to give us 60. That's not going to work. So that's why we have this strategy, cross multiplication, to help us. So 1 cross 30 times x equal to the other 25 times 15. Oops. So we have 30x equal to 25 multiplied by 15. Gives us 375 in my calculator. And then we just need to solve this. The opposite of multiply is divide. So we're dividing by 30. 375 divided by 30 is 12.5, which is the same thing we got earlier up here. It just won't always work out super nice. Like this one, we can't guess how to get from 2.8 to 10.5, so we need to cross multiply. So 1 cross equal to the other cross. So we have 2.8 multiplied by h equal to 10.5 multiplied by 6.4. So we have 2.8h and then 10.5 times 6.4 gives me 67.2. I just used my calculator to multiply. And then the opposite of multiplying by 2.8 would be dividing by 2.8. Remember, you're always getting rid of whatever's with the h, or whatever letter you have. So if I plug that in my calculator, 67.2 divided by 2.8, it actually turns out to be a nice number, 24. So h represents 24. Let's go on to the back side. This one's a word problem. We're going to have to set it up first. It says, a person who weighs 105 pounds on Earth would weigh about 17.5 pounds on the moon. About how much would a 60-pound person weigh, or a 60-pound dog weigh on the moon? So the first piece of information they gave us is that 105 pounds on Earth is really 17.5 pounds on the moon. So my ratio that I'm going to set up is going to be the weight on Earth to the rate, or the weight on the moon. So on Earth, the person weighs 105 pounds, but on the moon, they only weigh 17.5. So that information they told us in one sentence, it usually goes together to write one ratio. Now, they want to know, well, how much would a 60-pound dog weigh on the moon? So when they tell you the 60-pound dog, they're assuming that's a 60-pound dog's weight on Earth. They want to know how much does it weigh on the moon. You don't know the moon, but we do know it's 60 pounds on Earth. Maybe it's a lab, golden retriever, something like that. So we need to cross multiply to figure out how much does the dog weigh on the moon. So we have 60 multiplied by 17.5, equal to 105, 105 times x. So I'm going to use my calculator to multiply 60 multiplied by 17.5 gives me, if I multiply those, 1,050, 1050. And then last, the opposite of multiply is divide. Divide by 105. 1050 divided by 105 is 10. So the dog would weigh 10 pounds on the moon. So there was another question here, it kind of got hidden in our work. How much do you weigh on the moon? So if we know that this random person weighs 105 pounds on Earth and 17.5 pounds on the moon, well, you could put your weight on the top to figure out how much you would weigh on the moon. So you could put your weight right there and cross multiply to figure out how much would you weigh on the moon. There's not as much gravity on the moon, which is why if you were to step on a scale on the moon, it would tell you that you weigh less, even though you're really the same size and shape and everything, same density. There's just more gravity, more atmosphere pushing down on you on the Earth, which makes the number on the scale be higher than what it would be on the moon. Alright, here are 2 questions I would like you to try on your own. Set up a proportion if you need to, and then cross multiply to solve. So if I cross multiply, c times 9 is 9c, and then on the other side, 27 times 12 over here. 27 multiplied by 12 in my calculator is 324. And then the opposite of multiply is divide, so we're dividing by 9. 324 divided by 9 gives me 36. That one was pretty straightforward, all really nice numbers. And on this one, it says hair grows at an average of 0.5 inches in 1 month. So inches per month, it would be 0.5 inches for 1 month. How long would it take for your hair to grow 6 inches? So inches are on the top. We want to know how long would that take. So we can cross multiply. I set this up like I did because they gave us this information in one piece. Your hair grows this much in 1 month. How long would it take for 6 inches? So this information is what we don't know. That's the second ratio. So 6 times 1 is 6. 0.5 times x over here. The opposite of multiplying would be dividing. 6 divided by 1/2, so thinking how many halves go into 6, it's actually going to be a number bigger than 6. If you think about it this way, if you have 6 inches, how many half inches would go into 6 inches? It should be 12. So what were they looking for on the bottom was months, so it would take 12 months to grow your hair 6 inches, which makes sense because your hair doesn't grow very fast. It's a year, 1 year in time. If you have any questions, please let me know. Otherwise, you're solving using your cross multiplication, cross products. All right? I believe they're all pretty straightforward. You might have to write your proportion first before